When we press G, we get the setting options, and over here we have some presets that can be set to low, medium, and so on. And for example, if they don't match a single row, they'll be set to custom. And again, we can change that. Hey there, I'm your host Lesoe, and in today's video, we'll design the graphic settings that you've seen at the start. So with that said, let's begin. Let's start by creating a system where we can open up this menu. So to do that, we'll open up the content drawer, right click to create a new folder. Let's call it UI, and let's open that up. In here, let's right click again, user widget, blueprint, and we'll call our widget wb_settings menu. And let's save that. Next, we want to go ahead and create an input action so that we can toggle it with our controller keyboard to open up the menu. So we'll go to the third person, inputs, actions, right click, input action, we'll call it IA_toggle menu, or whichever you like. Let's save that. Let's go back a folder to our IMC_default. We'll open that up, and on mappings, click on the dropdown, hit the plus, and let's select our new input action. Click on the dropdown again and assign a key of your choice. I normally go with the G key. Once happy, let's save and exit. Next, let's go ahead and create a player controller. So let's open up the content drawer, go to third person, blueprints, let's right click, go to blueprint class, select your player controller, and we'll do BP for blueprint_PC player controller_main. Now, once created, it's a good idea to assign it to our player character straight away so we don't forget it. So we have world settings here. Now, if you don't see this, go to settings, click world settings, and now you should. We have game mode. Let's click on the selected game mode, and we are interested in the player controller class. So from default to our own. Once that's done, let's go ahead and open up our controller. And when inside, we want to create 3 new functions. Let's call the first one toggle settings menu. And 2 more for showing our mouse. So we'll call it show mouse. And another one for hiding it, hide mouse. And let's double click on our toggle settings menu. Now over here, we want to drag out from our execution pin and do a create widget. And the widget in question is going to be our WB_settings menu. Drag out from the blue pin to promote to variable. We'll call it WB_settings menu. And again, we'll drag out and do add to viewport to add it to our display. And before we do any of this, we want to actually take this reference. So right here, do a get, convert to a validated get. And we want to check if this already exists. Now, if it does, we'll remove it. So drag from the blue pin and do remove from parent. And when we remove it, we also want to clear this reference. So to do so, drag this out, set it as empty. And if it doesn't exist, we'll go ahead and simply create this widget. And we also want to add a mouse to this screen and hide it when we're hiding it. So on creating it, we'll show the mouse. And when destroying the widget, we'll hide the mouse. And of course, we need to design the logic in those 2 functions. So let's go ahead and do that. Double click, right click, do get player controller. We'll do a set show mouse cursor. Click this on. So the mouse shows up, and we'll set the game mode. So set input game and UI. And game and UI will allow you to move while in the settings menu. Double click, bring it down, select the 2, press Q to align. And let's open up the hide mouse. We'll do get player controller. We then want to do a check, is this valid? Because when we close out of the game, it'll give us an error that this doesn't exist and so on. So to avoid it, we do is valid. Then we'll do a set show mouse cursor as empty, so false. Double click here, get that node, and we'll do set input game only, and this brings us back. Connect everything, double click, whoops, and there we go. Compile and save. Lastly, we want to call our toggle settings menu function in the event graph. So over here, we want to right click and get our input action that we made. So toggle menu, click on your drop down, and on started, we'll do toggle settings menu. And let's close this down, compile and save, and give it a quick test. Just make sure that when you do this, that your player controller is selected. And let's hit play. When we press G, mouse should show up, and G again, mouse should hide. Next, let's go ahead and create a button for our UI. So let's go ahead and open up the content drawer, open up the UI folder, right click, user interface, widget blueprint, and we'll call this WB_button. Let's save it and open it. Inside here, we want to grab a button. So we have it handy there. And on top of that, we want to add a text. So let's do that. Click on your button. Let's rename it just to say button. And for the background color, I'll make it 0 on the alpha channel. So it's invisible. Then for the text, we want to say variable so that we can edit it. And on the name, we'll do txt_text. And we can also make it horizontal alignment to go on the left. Let's compile and save. Next, let's open up the event graph. And inside here, we want to create some functions. So let's go on the left-hand side, hit the plus, and our first function we'll call setTextColor. And over here, we want to grab our text and do set color and opacity. So our first option here. And from the blue pin, we want to do make slate color, and the value here, drag it into your input or your function rather, and it'll create an input, and that's all we need. So let's compile and save. Our next function is going to be called setTextSettings. And in here, we want to grab our text and do set text, and the last one at the bottom. And with this value in text, drag it to your function to create an input. Next, we want to Control-C and Control-V our text and do set font. And this will give us some cool options here. So do a make from here. And here we have some values. Now I'm interested in the font family, the typeface, and the size. So with the font family, we'll drag out and promote a variable. I'll call it font, typeface, promote a variable. And lastly, the size. Now the size I want to drag to my function over there. Click on this, hide everything. And if you still see that, hide unconnected pins. Now these guys need a default value. Otherwise your text is going to be empty. In order to do that, we first need to compile. Click on your font. And if you don't see anything in here, click on the gear icon and do show engine content. So mine is already ticked. And we'll search for Roboto font. Unreal Engine default font there. And for the typeface, I think it's supposed to say regular. You can also go with bold if you want. And that's okay for now. So let's compile and save. Next, we'll go ahead and create a function called update button status. Now in here, we want to drag our set text color function like so. And out this blue pin, we'll do a select color. With your pick a boolean, drag it to your function to create an input. And over here, we'll say is active. And let's connect our execution pin. Now, if it's true, so A, we'll make it like a yellowish color. Something like that works. And B, if it's false, let's give it like a gray color. And this will be the default text color as well. Now, at the end, we'll do promote variable, and let's call it is active. And let's also connect the execution pin. And let's compile and save. Next, on the event graph, let's get rid of the event construct and event tick. On your pre-construct, we want to set the text settings, like so, and we want to then update the button status. Now, our variables need something as a default value. So for text, let's promote it to a variable called default text. And let's make it instance editable so that we can edit it per instance of the button. Same with the size. So promote variable, call it font size, instance editable. And we also need to give these values a default value. So compile to do that. and we can say font 24 and default text, let's say text. And your boolean for is active, drag it in here like so. Let's just make sure our typeface has something there. It does, and our font. Because if it doesn't, it'll just be blank, I think. Compile and save. Next, it's a good idea to actually create the animations for unhovered and unclicked. So let's go to the designer, and on the top, it says window. Click on that. We have animations. Click on it and click on your button and hit the animation button. We'll call it resize, like so. Click on it. Click add, we want the button, hit the plus to add a track, and we want to transform. And with the transform at the start, we'll do scale, default scale, and we'll do like 0.1, and we'll do 1.2 and 1.2 on the Y as well. So that's one animation. For our second animation, when we click, so the button jumps a little bit, we'll click plus on the animation and call it jump. Click on your jump, same thing, hit add, button, plus, transform, and this time I want the translation on the Y. So we'll do 0.05 and I'll just say tree. So you can see the button jumps. And we'll do compile and save, and we can close this animation window. And let's head back to our event graph now. Now let's go ahead and click on the button and do on hovered. And again on unhovered. And let's drag this down, give ourselves some space. So when we hover over the button, I want to update the button status. So we'll drag this in here, like so. And we'll drag is active. Next, we want to play the animation, like so. And the animation in question, click on the drop down on the left, and we have resize. Oops, can I drag it? We can. And I want this to play forward. And at the end, if you want for an extra flair, we can do play sound, sound 2D. And you can put something in there. So that's that. Next, for unhovered, what we want to do is we'll copy update button status and the variable. And we want to then play the animation, but in reverse. So Control-C, Control-V, and play mode reverse. And we also want to do one more thing. So let's drag this out, create a branch, so B left mouse. And for the branch, I want to check if the button was pressed. So for that, we'll make a new variable, and let's call it was pressed, like so. And we'll drag it in here. And if that's the case, if true, we'll set it to be false again. And of false, we'll just play our animation like that. Next, we'll go ahead and click on the button again, and we will create the unpressed and unreleased animations. So with that, whenever the button is pressed, we want to set this variable here to be true. So Control-C, Control-V, click it on. That's that. And then we will play the animation. So Control-C, Control-V, and the animation we want is jump. Like so. That's going forward. And then we want reverse on released. So we can do that. And we'll do reverse. Let's just make sure that's reversed. It is, and so on. Okay. Lastly, let's click on our button and do on clicked. Now this will allow our button to have some functionality. Scroll down on the left-hand side until you see event dispatchers, add a new one, and we'll do on button clicked and call it. And we can also add a sound for extra flair as well. Play sound 2D whenever this is clicked. And one more thing I want to check is that this is active, is instance editable, so that we can check it in real time in the editor. And all of these are as well. If you wanted the font to be editable per button, if you want different fonts for different buttons, click this on, and same with the typeface. And then compile and save. Next, let's go ahead and open up the content drawer. And let's right click to create a new folder called settings. And let's open that. Inside here, you want to right click again, go to blueprint and structure. So we'll call this S_graphic presets. Let's save it and open it. And on our first variable, let's just change this to be an integer. And you want to add here as many settings as you want to be in this menu. So in my case, that's going to be 6. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And our first one will be called anti-aliasing. I think that's how you pronounce it. For our second one, we'll have post-processing. Then we'll have shadows. We'll have textures. We'll have visual effects. And we'll have depth of field or view distance. And let's save that. With this complete, let's right click and go to miscellaneous, and we want to create a data table. Click on it, click on the dropdown, select your graphic presets, okay, and we'll call it DT for data table underscore graphic presets. Save it and open it. Inside here, we want to design the low, medium, high, epic, and ultra qualities. So we want to add a few rows. So we'll add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Space that out a little bit. So our first row we will call low. We have then medium. We have high. We got the epic and we got the ultra. Now in here you want to assign the correct number. So low would be all zeros, medium would be all ones. So we can just do 1 everywhere. Then 2 on your high. And you get the idea. So you just want to repeat this process. And once you're done, simply save and exit. Next, let's go ahead and edit our settings menu. So let's open up the content drawer, UI, settings menu. And over here, let's add a canvas panel to our screens. Next, we'll go ahead and add a border on top of that. Click on your border. And go to the anchors tab, hold Ctrl and Shift, click on the middle one to snap into place. For size X, let's do 1200, and size Y, we'll do 500 like so. Then for the brush color, we'll change it from white to black, and for the alpha channel opacity, we'll do 0.6, and hit OK. With that, we want a vertical box on top of our border. So drag it in. Padding will say 0, like that, and we then want a horizontal box. We want 2 of these, so drag it in and drag it in again. For the bottom box, we want to fill, and we don't see the top box just yet because there's nothing there, but we want a spacer between 2 of these, so search for a spacer and drag it in, drop it under the first one there, click on it, and we'll do size 0 and size 20. Like so. Next, we can also name these. So this will be called our box underscore presets. And this we can call box underscore graphics. Next, let's click on our box presets. And over here, we want to search for our own button that we made. So WB button, and let's drag it in. Click on it, we want to fill it, and we'll do a 0.5 of a fill. For the default text, we'll do quality presets. Like so. Next, we want a horizontal box beside that. So let's search for a horizontal box, drag it into our presets. And inside this box, we want the buttons for our low, medium, high, and so on. So let's go ahead and search for our button again. And drag in, so low, medium, high, epic, ultra, and custom. And we can click on the box. We can also fill that and click on all the buttons, fill them, and let's get to naming. So we want low, and we also want to change the name here. So button underscore low. So go ahead and fill these out. Once you have this done, click on your button low. And for the fill, we'll do 0.7. For the medium, we'll do 1.2. And these are the values I found to work. If of course, can mess around with this. Then for epic, high, epic, and ultra, we'll do 0.8. And custom, we can leave as 1. And let's compile and save. Next, we'll go ahead and close this down because we don't need those anymore. And we want to search for a vertical box. So drag that into your graphic box, Control C, Control V, click on both of them, and we want to do fill. For our first one, we want to rename it to box_setting names, and we'll do a fill of 0.5. And for our second box, we'll call box_settings. Next, click on your setting names box, and over here we want to add our own button again, and we want 6 of these, or as many as you have settings. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you don't need to name these because these are not important. Make sure they're not variable so we don't see them in the event graph. And we can do fill. Click on them and name them. So this will be our anti-aliasing. And go ahead and fill these out. Once this is done, we then want to click on our second box. And over here, we want to do the same, but we want horizontal boxes instead. So let's grab a horizontal box, drag it in. And over here, we want the buttons for low, medium, high, and so on. So we'll search for button, drag it in, and you want to copy paste this a few times. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Select that and do fill. And over here, we'll go ahead and name them as well. The name here would be important. So this is anti-aliasing. So I'll do anti-aliasing_0 for the first one. And we'll set this as off. And just go ahead and fill these out. For our last box, we'll actually make this not variable, and we want the text to say nothing. Once this is done, we of course want to click on the button and set the fill properly. So this will be at 0.9. For medium, we'll do a fill of 1.3, so 1.3. For high, we want a fill of 0.9. We'll do the same for epic, 0.9, ultra, 0.9. And our last one will say 1.2. And let's compile and save it. Let's go ahead and name this horizontal box our box_anti-aliasing. And we want now to copy paste this all the times for the settings. So click on it, Control V, got how many? 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Select all of them, do fill, and go ahead and name them the appropriate name. So this would be post processing. Now go ahead inside each and every one of these and change the name, and of course the name here as well, if you wish. Once you're done, you should be left with something like this, and we have our anti-aliasing, post-processing, shadows, textures, visual effects, and the depth of field. So compile and save if you haven't already, and let's open up the event graph. So now let's go ahead and create some functions. Click plus, and our first function will be called get current anti-aliasing button. Now over here, we want to grab all of the anti-aliasing buttons. So let's go ahead and do so. Next, select all of them, right click and alignment, align left. We can drag out and do make array and add your pins. So we have 5 buttons, so 5 pins. select both, press Q to align them, and we can do a for each loop. Before we do that, we want to get the game user settings, and we want to compare if we have found a match. So we'll do get anti-aliasing quality, and from our own array index, we can do equal equal. And then if we found a match, we can do from this array element a update button status and plug this in. And on completed, we'll simply just return. And this will be the same for all of your settings. So you just want to repeat this 5 more times. Once you're done with all of the settings, so we have all of these here, 6 functions, we then want to go ahead and create another one called set all current setting buttons. In here, we want a sequence node, so press S and left mouse. We then want to create 6 of these. So we have 5, 0 to 5, and just drag them out and connect them. And let's align them a little bit. And there we have it. So let's compile and save. For our next function, let's go ahead and call it get settings quality buttons. And over here, we just want the buttons. So let's click on the variables, and we have low, medium, high, epic, ultra, and we should have custom. There we go. And we'll do make array as before. Connect all of them inside, select both, press Q, select these, right click, alignment left. That's that, and we just want to return all of this. So, and let's compile and save. For our next function, we'll go ahead and call this update settings quality buttons. And in here, we want to get the setting quality buttons. So drag it in and click on it. We want this to be a pure function. And we want to do a for each loop, like so. And we want to do update button status if it's found to be matching. So we'll do equals equals, like so. Grab your index and drag it into your function. Let's align that. And for this, we can call it our settings quality. And the Boolean goes in here like so. And let's compile and save. Next, we'll go ahead and create another function called get current settings. And in here, we want to get the game user settings. So we then want to get all of our settings. So get anti-aliasing, get post-processing, get, what do we have? Shadows, shadow quality. We have get texture quality. Then we have our visual effects, so get visual effects. And lastly, the depth of field, which is actually called view distance, so get view distance. And we want to make all of this also into an array. So let's add the input pins necessary, connect it like so. And we then can select both and press Q, select these, right click, alignment left. There we go, and we'll return this. So return a node, goes in, and we can call this our settings array, I guess. Compile and save. Next, let's go ahead and create the function that will sort out all of this. We'll call it set graphics quality. There we go. And we'll get data table row names is what we want. We want to select our own data table that we made, and we'll do a for each loop. With that, we want to get data table row. And in here, we want to select our data table like so. And we want to break this open to get our settings. We have all of those. We want to make an array. Get all the pins necessary as well. And we want to check if our get current settings. So this again wants to be a pure array. We'll do an equals equals, and we want to check if the array is identical. Connect that like so. We'll grab a branch. And if they are identical, then it will be set to one of our presets. And if it doesn't match, well, then it'll be custom. So what we'll do is we want to update the settings quality buttons. So grab that in on true. Settings quality, we want to come from here. So drag it out like so. Double click again. We want this to be nice and pretty for us. And afterwards, we can do a print string to say that this is correct. Now for the print string, I'll do append, click pin, and on A, we will say nothing actually. This will be going in here like so. This should convert it for you. B shall be empty. We'll do a space. And for C, we will say quality, like so. And at the end, we want to return like this. And if this has been completed and it hasn't found anything, well, then we want to update the settings quality. And the settings quality for custom we have set was 5. So make sure to put 5 in here. And we then can do actually a print string, Control C, Control V. And this just shall say custom quality. And I believe that's it. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. And let's compile and save. Next, we'll go ahead and create a small function called apply and save. In here, we want to get the game user settings. We then want to apply our settings like so. You can check this off for command lines, and then we'll do save settings. And that's all. Let's compile and save. Next, we'll go ahead and create yet another function. I know this is a lot, but it's necessary. We'll do set settings quality. And over here, we want to get the game user settings. And we want an input in here. So plus, make sure it's an integer, and we want to call it settings quality. We then want to grab a sequence. So S left mouse again, like so. And we just want to set all of these settings. So set anti-aliasing quality, post-process, and so on. So set post-process, set shadow quality, set texture quality, set visual effects quality, and set view distance quality. And we just want to connect them. And for these values here, we want to get settings quality. And this is just referencing this variable here, just avoiding dragging lines all over the place. And we can copy paste this a few times, fill this out, like so. Oh, Q doesn't work with this. That's okay. And on 1, we want to do apply and save. So, and at the end, we will update our setting quality buttons. And again, our settings quality will go here. And let's compile and save. For the next step, we need an enum. So for that, let's go to our content drawer and open up our settings folder. Let's right click, go to blueprint, and create an enumeration. We will call it e_setting type. Save it, open it, and in here we want a few inputs. So we want 6. And let's do anti-aliasing. We can do post process. We got shadows, textures, visual effects. And lastly, we got the view distance or depth of field, whichever you prefer. And let's save it and head back. Once you're back, we want to go ahead and create another function called update settings. Now, the purpose of this function is so that every time we press a button to change a setting, we don't have to copy paste the same code over and over again. So inside here, we will do get game user settings. And then we'll do a switch from our enum. So switch on e_setting type. Now with this pin, drag it to your function to create an input. And this will be our setting type that we're changing. And under, we want to create another input, make sure it's an integer for the settings quality. And this will make it very easy for us to change per button. So from the game user settings, we'll do set anti-aliasing, like so. We want to do this for every single one of them. And the settings quality will come from here. So get settings quality, drag it in. After that, we want to update anti-aliasing buttons. We want to get that. So get it here. And we will do set graphics quality at the end. And we'll apply and save, like so. So only these two functions change. So we shall go ahead and do set post process quality, get the post process button, connect that there, and you get the idea. Set shadow quality. And let's connect it at the end there. Now this needs some quality control. This looks messy. Let's do that. And this needs to go into every single one of these. You don't have to look at it for long. Let's just connect it. Make sure they all can look as decent as possible. And once you're satisfied, we can compile and save. On the event graph, let's get rid of event construct and event tick. On pre-construct, we want to do a set all current setting buttons like that. So they update at the start. And we want to set the graphics quality like so. And that's that. Next, let's go ahead and set up our buttons. So click on your anti-aliasing, on button clicked, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this will go from low to ultra. And we can get our update settings function. Now this will be very easy to set up because it's anti-aliasing. We set it to 0. This will be anti-aliasing 1. And you get the idea. This will be 2, and so on. So now when we want a different setting, all we got to do is just change the setting type. So for example, we want to do post-processing next. Let's go through all of these. And 4. And another good thing would be just to select all of this, press C, and we'll call it anti-aliasing. And show bubble like that. Move this up. And we can copy paste this function. And all we got to do is change this to post-processing and the quality. So very handy if we're creating more settings. We can do that. We just got to update the function and so on. So with this, go ahead and set this up for all of your settings. Once you're done, you should be left with something like this: anti-aliasing, post-processing, shadows, we got textures, visual effects, and finally view distance. And lastly, we got to set up the quality preset buttons. So let's go to our button low, plus, we got medium, high, epic, we got ultra, and our custom doesn't actually require anything because it won't work. So let's select all of that, bring it down. And over here, we want to set the settings quality to our choice. So low would be 0. And we want to set, what's it called? Set all current setting buttons at the end so that all of them update. Control C, Control V. And all you want to do is change the quality preset. So this would say 4. This would be 3, 2. Whoops. Where am I? 1. And we are pretty much done. So let's comment this code. This will be our quality presets. Bubble it. And let's compile and save. So now let's close this down and hope it all works. So let's hit play. When we press G, we get this, and it's all epic currently. We can change it to high, change it to custom. That's a good sign. And let's change medium. I'll go to medium, low. We can see the shadows disappear. So this works. So this is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. And if you did, leave a like. And as always, happy developing.